And I know we have a few minutes left, and I want to talk about your current venture is on ESPN Radio. So I want to know a little bit about your format of The Other Side of Sports, which is on WPEN.
Yeah, on 950 ESPN every Saturday for 2 hours, the management there allows me to do something that is really unique in as big a radio television market as Philadelphia. And that is to talk not just about professional sports, but to talk about high school sports, within high school sports, to talk a lot about girls sports, to talk about youth sports even before high school, and to talk about the Special Olympics, special needs sports. We had a whole show devoted a couple of weeks ago to the Overbrook School for the Blind, and to really try to use sports as a vehicle to stress life lessons and positive life lessons. And I think, Barry, that in covering sports, we frequently hear about great teamwork. And we hear about great persistence and about great overcoming of adversity. And I think when you take those qualities which are inherent in a limited way in the contests that are sporting contests, and you apply that to social problems, and you apply that to community issues, that's far more important. And I guess an example I can use from last week is we talked about on my show a week or so ago the Ronald McDonald House and the Ronald McDonald Camp. And these are places that enable the families of children with all sorts of pediatric diseases, although historically it started with the Eagles Fly for Leukemia, children who had pediatric oncology, cancer issues. It enables their families to have a place where they can stay while the child is hospitalized. When the child's out of the hospital, they can go to a camp with other kids facing similar medical challenges. And I brought up the point that we could have talked on that show about how 5 NBA players had a great amount of teamwork in their victory during the playoff game the night before. But in St. Christopher's Hospital for Children, or CHOP itself, Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, you got 500 people who are keeping a young person alive and enabling him, and more than 500, to have a more positive prognosis. And that's the important teamwork.
That's great. And I'll ask you one last question. You know, from all your years in broadcasting, there's been many changes. Like, I think sportscasts, I don't know if you noticed, do you think that they're shorter now?
Much shorter.
Yeah, and another one I noticed is NFL Network and more team-controlled news outlets. Are they there to somehow usurp the broadcast networks in a way?
Well, I really think that the future of the traditional television news program is very much up in the air in my estimation, because I think with all the new technology and all the new delivery systems, that when I started in this business back in the 1970s, a lot of people literally would set their viewing pattern to watch Action News at 6 and Action News at 11. And no matter how many additional news programs you add, and almost all the stations have added a lot, the fact that a person can go on his or her cell phone, the fact that they can go online, the fact that they can hear online or on a cell phone the person in the news conference that we used to cover as the reporter, there's a lot more direct linkage with news stories, with sports stories. And I really don't know exactly how TV news is going to reinvent itself, but it's going to have to, or the viewing levels are inevitably going to decrease, because people can get what they used to only get on the news, on TV, elsewhere so easily.
All right, well, I think that's about all the time we have. We want to remind you, go to www.onechildsave.com. You can find more information about One Child Save's history, their mission, and also ways to donate. And don't forget to check out The Other Side of Sports with Don Tollefson every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. to noon every week on ESPN Radio. It's been a pleasure, Tom.
Barry,
Thank
you were
you
great.
so much.
My pleasure, man.
All right, thank you.
Who holds the Philly record for home runs in a season?
Mike Schmidt, 48.
There's one guy in the Delaware Valley who really knows his sports.
Name the professional football team that preceded the Eagles in Philadelphia.
Frankfurt Yellow Jackets?
That's right.
He's Don Tollefson of Action News, and he's up on baseball, football, basketball, hockey, you name it.
Movies. That'll get them.
Yeah, movies. Make it a good one. Come on.
Marilyn Monroe was married to what? Famous New York Yankee?
For all the answers, watch Don Tollefson on Action News.